Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahushai, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahushai, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Ruchak Kodash. The blessings to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutation to the hopeful elect out there, you Akim to Sadakim, that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. On the pre-Shaman, this week's topic is going to be entitled Floyd, More Money. Floyd Money Problems Mayweather, man. Floyd Money Problems Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather has recently been in the news. There was a YouTuber by the name of Spencer Cornelia who did one of his YouTube videos going into the overwhelming debt situation that Floyd Mayweather is in. Huge financial problems. And trust me, this video is not to beat a man while he's down, because we all as Israelites go through financial problems and financial woes. I could only imagine the stress that Mayweather is going through. Again, if all things is accurate, based on the information that was released, it looked like everything is accurate, and Floyd has an excessive spending problem, and he lives a very extravagant lifestyle that if he's actively fighting, he can maintain. Even when he's doing that, his overhead is pretty crazy, man. I mean, he has very tight margins. Well, he got in business with a so-called Jew to manage his money, which had a fraud background, like a shady background, and apparently he's suing him for money. He's suing a bunch of different people, suing Showtime, suing the guy that manages money, and these people are saying, well, Floyd is running a tactic of not paying people and then using this plug with TMZ to have the media on his side and to manipulate it to look like he was getting robbed out of money. Floyd has been quiet the entire time, which is smart. But now, man, this guy could face up to years. I mean, they're saying things like fraudulent check for a $200,000 watch. It was like Audemars. And you could buy watches that appreciate in value, but what our people tend to do is they'll buy these watches and they'll call it bust down. All you're doing is busting down the value of the watch, all right? Because people that could really afford these watches and things like that on the regular, they don't wear bust downs, all right? Trust me. I was around people that wear these watches, and they, trust me, they have no intentions of getting it flooded with diamonds and depreciating the value, all right? Plus, it looks tacky, you know what I'm saying, to be real with you. But the reason Floyd is going through what he's going through, for many reasons, the number one reason, one, you're an Israelite, okay? And the curses of the Heavenly Father that I brought out in the last lesson, Deuteronomy 28th chapter, catches up to every Israelite. And the scriptures really warn us about excessive borrowing, excessive debt. This is the book of Proverbs chapter 22 verse 7. It says, the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. Right, so the borrower is always going to be servant to the lender. And America is a debt-based society, right? You have something called a credit score, wherein the credit score is supposed to punish individuals that have bad financial background, right? They didn't manage money correctly, or what have you, when they were borrowing, so we dropped their credit score, right? And this could hinder you from doing things like purchasing a car, getting a home. And it's unfortunate because most people just want to save up cash. A lot of people have cash. But guess what? When you go into a car dealership, you're not going in there to get a car. You're going in there to finance a loan, all right? Same thing with a house, you know what I'm saying? So, and these are the things, this is how the society is set up. It forces you to borrow. And if you have to if you do have to borrow, speaking from experience, made this mistake. Don't borrow above your overhead. You see? And Floyd, you know, given many opportunities, he just kept pushing it, man. And now it's one I'll say it's all relative. You know, you could be in a hole $1,000 and just struggling $100, you know, $100,000, $1 million. It depends on what, you know, your income status is, you know, because you do have millionaires here in America that live in paycheck to paycheck. So it really depends on not how much you make, but how much you keep. That's what Robert Kiyosaki said, you know. And right now, Floyd ain't keeping much, man. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, we were doing lessons on him, you know, because he was always, you know, bigging up them so-called gutter rats over there, all right? And it turns out them so-called Jews is the main one that brought out that information about you, and Floyd, you're gonna need to have to humble yourself, all right? Either just humble yourself in terms of bringing down your lifestyle. You can't do that anymore. If you can't get that fight, you can't get that money, you might have to definitely file bankruptcy. Now, I don't, the thing with Floyd Mayweather, that's gonna take a great humiliation, which I don't think Floyd is trying to do. You know what I'm saying? Because he's known. What Jake say, keep it up with the Joneses. He wants to keep that image, keep that appearance. I'm money man, and just draining his cash. Instead of just saying, you know what, fuck that. I'm just gonna be regular Mayweather. There was a time he was just pretty boy Floyd. He wasn't known for this money stuff. Now you're known for this money stuff, and and don't get me wrong, Floyd. I'm not a boxing expertise, but Floyd Mayweather is my favorite boxer. When he boxed, it's just, it was an amazing thing to watch. I think he was a very entertaining fighter. All right, but the Lord is really bringing that to him, and if he understood the scriptures, he would know why that's happening to him. Outside of just explaining to him on a financial responsibility standpoint. The book of Psalms chapter 37 verse 21 says, the wicked borroweth and payeth not again. So when you borrow, you're supposed to pay back. Don't get caught up with these creditors. And when you borrow from a brother, you're supposed to pay him back. If you're borrowing, I want to make it clear, it's much different than if your back is against the wall and you don't got it. That's different. But you say, hey, look, I'm a borrower, not just a brother, but anybody in the world, or anybody in general, I'm borrowing this, just pay the person back. That's how you build trust. You know what I'm saying? If you go around borrowing, not paying anybody back, guess what? You're gonna have a bad reputation, and then people who you owe are gonna say, yo, this guy is known for that. And that's sort of what happened with Floyd right now, because these people, they teamed up against him. You know what I'm saying? They teamed up against him. You writing blank checks, IRS is after your ass, and this is what happens when you just, I think what Floyd was doing, he was doing a lot of secured loans. You could do different type of loans, but a secured loan is when you get a loan and you tie it to an underlying asset, whether it be a house, a car, a watch, a jewelry, things like that, instead of just an outright, you have other loans where it's like they just give you the cash and you got to pay it. There's no collateral per se, I think when I was looking into the situation with the jewelry, this guy paid $1.1 million in interest just to pawn his jewelry. So it's crazy, man, and I don't get why. If I was Floyd Mayweather, I would just liquidate everything, sell the car, sell the house, sell everything, and just downsize. You know what I'm saying? Just downsize. You have enough money to live your life. You know what I'm saying? Downsize and just do promotions at this point. But who knows how this thing turns out? I've been reading about this for many years. I think Floyd did a good job keeping it on the low, but 50 Cent was like one of the first guys, and he's cool with Floyd. I was like, yo, the money ran out. And to 50's point, nobody wants to fight when they're 50 years old. I don't give a fuck how passionate you are. You don't want to be 50 plus years old in the ring at all. That just means you need the money. You need the cash. All right. Psalms 37 and 21, it says, the wicked borroweth and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. Right. So you're supposed to give. Yeah, the scriptures tell you charity covers sins, man. So you're supposed to give. I hope you were giving a lot, Floyd, when you had that money. I don't really know you for giving out that money to Jake or any charity. I could be wrong. I'm just saying, you didn't really boast in that. If you did do that, if you did, cool. Maybe the whole bets and $100,000 and money phone shit thing was the image that secretly you were given to individuals. But to my knowledge, I really don't know if there's a Floyd Money Mayweather charity or thing going like that. So you had all that cash, you should have been helping your people out. You know what I'm saying? Should have been helping Jake out. You know, you never know. Like, what if you'd have helped one of those Jakes and they could have turned back and helped you out in your time of need? You know what I'm saying? Proverbs chapter 22, verse 26 says, "Be not one of them that strike hands, or of them that are sureties of debt." Right? Meaning, you know, taking on the responsibility, the debt responsibility for somebody that owes something and they can't pay it. You know? So borrowing is is something you definitely have to be careful with, you know. And the things that you borrow, just make sure you could survive and pay these things back. 27. If thou hast nothing to pay, why should he take away thy bed from under thee? And this goes back into the law of Deuteronomy. The bed represents a man's outer garments. I could actually get the precept there. Believe it. Okay, so it's Exodus 22 and 22, 26 to 27. If thou at all take thy neighbor's raiment to pledge, so a pledge is like pawning something. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, here's my shirt. You know, let me get $10. If I can't pay you back, you keep my shirt. You know, just a little quick example. If thou at all take thy neighbor's raiment to pledge, thou shalt deliver it unto him by the sun goeth down. Right. So it's in our laws. Like, look, if I did pledge my outer garment, right, my outer raiment, even if I can't pay the debt back, I got to give it back by sundown. You got, you know, the lender has to give it back by sundown. That's in our laws. It says, for that is his covering only. It is his raiment for his skin, wherewith shall he sleep. You know, this is like a manners and customs things, if you understand it, because back in the ancient world, back in those times, and maybe still certain parts of the Middle East, they would use the outer garment to sleep. You know, sleep on the floor. You know. So even the Lord is saying you gotta at least have some sort of mercy to give a man, you know, even though you know he might not pay you back, you gotta give him back his outer raiment so he could at least sleep. It says, shall come to pass when he crieth unto me that I will hear, for I am gracious. You know what I'm saying? So that's the bed that we just read about in the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 27. You know what I'm saying? Let me now go to the next scripture. I want to get Deuteronomy the 15th chapter, because in this society, you know, not just Floyd, all right, but all of us, all right, a lot of us need our debts wiped clean. You know what I'm saying? Someone was telling me, like, it would be nice if they crashed the system and wiped away everybody's debt. The book of Deuteronomy 15:1 says, at the end of every 7 years, thou shalt make a release. This is called a year of Jubilee. 2, verse 2, Deuteronomy 15:2. And this is the manner of the release. Every creditor that lendeth aught unto his neighbor shall release it. It shall not exact it of his neighbor or of his brother, because it is called the Lord's release. Right? So, one, you're not supposed to lend with usury, which is interest. And every 7 years, okay, if a brother owes you or whatever, look, it's forgiven. You know what I'm saying? And the Most High in his infinite wisdom, all right, knows. He knows, hey, sometimes shit just happens, people get caught up, all right, let every man get a reset. In this society, all right, that's what people will love that right now. You know how many people will love that? Just get a good reset, you know, but it can't happen. All right, just like they said in Game of Thrones, the Iron Bank always gets its debt or something like that. That's these creditors, that's these loan sharks. All right, they got to get their money back, so they're gonna take something, you know. This is the book of Romans chapter 13, verse 8. It says, owe no man anything. So Floyd, you owe a lot of people a lot of things, and again, you know, you called yourself making $1 billion. You made a lot of money. But, you know, again, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And this man right now is in it bad, you know what I'm saying? All I kept thinking about was, man, the curses are undefeated, man. The curses of the Heavenly Father, I don't care how wealthy you become, I don't care what the hell you do. If you're an Israelite, at some point, the Most High is going to have these curses touch your ass, man. You know what I'm saying? All right? Cursing your financial basket, man. You know? And there's definitely ups and downs in the truth, because there's times the Lord could be blessing you heavily financially. You like, yo, everything hitting. Wow, everything hitting. All my plays hitting. My stocks are up. Hey, this little business I got, I got some revenue coming in. But in the back of your mind, you always are sitting on the edge of your seat, like, damn, yep. I know the Lord's gonna bring some downtime to it. Even if you try to put some cash away, the Lord's still gonna have them downtimes, man. And Floyd is going through some real down. He was put up real high. The Lord's gonna, hit you with some real lows. Romans 13:8 says, "Owe no man anything, but to love one another, for he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law." Right, so, make sure you're not owing brothers, take care of your finance to the best of your ability, Hey, man, like I said, ain't nothing wrong with downsizing. Shit, man. It's either that, it's simple. It's just like losing weight, right? Or gaining weight. If you're consuming more than you burn, you're gonna gain weight. If you consume less than you burn, you're gonna lose weight. The same thing with the whole money thing. If you're down a lot, you gotta start making more money. Find ways to make more money. Now, granted, this is more applicable to a lot more people than a Floyd Mayweather, who needs millions of dollars right now, like 50 mil. Shit. That Mike Tyson fight hit or whatever. You gotta turn around and just, fix yourself after that. I'll tell you this, Floyd, if you come across this video and you watch it and it sticks with you, who knows? You better get on your knees, pray to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, all right? And learn more. You see? And if the Lord gets you out of it, that don't mean go back to living that bullshit, that flashy lifestyle. It means, I gotta get myself right, because I'm realizing this money can't save my ass. Haggai 1:6 says, "You have sown much." Meaning Jake do work a lot. Jake ain't on some lazy shit. Jake be working. You have sown much and bring in little. Y'all, brother, we all experience that, man. There's times you done worked 80 hours in a week, and all the bills, tickets just manifest. Tickets just spawn up. When you walk in GTA and characters just spawn, that's how them tickets and penalties be spawning. And hence you bring home little. You eat, but you have not enough. You drink, but you have not filled with drink. You're clothed, but there is none warm. And he hath earneth wages to put it into a bag of holes. So, in the smallest of the greatest Israelite experiences, that's why the scriptures in the book of 2 Timothy, the 6th chapter, says, "Godliness with contentment is great gain." With that, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba'Hashem Kodash, that belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutation to the hopefully elect out there, you Akim to Zadakim that do this thing in the animal truth and sincerity. Shalom.